Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC in a moment. First, the disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Sharks campaign or the campaign with the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are right there in the description box for you with what I hope are some helpful labels. So if you'd like to go again and do a deep dive on your own, you are definitely welcome to do so. Trigger warnings. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. First off, because I use profanity. I use profanity a lot, and I have not been successful so far in being able to filter my language. And also because, like in this video here, we cover dark topics like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, or Agape Boarding School for Boys, in which we do give vivid descriptions of and show clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you have a child that is 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is something that I very much advise, alright? Alright, we're going to start right where we just left off, alright? Staff did not ask us about how many or what types of medical treatments their loved ones underwent unsuccessfully before going on to the GED. Because it's irrelevant. You want to know why it's irrelevant? Because there was no full functional behavioral assessment that was conducted first before intervention or any types of treatment program had even had a chance to begin. If there's no full functional behavioral assessment first, then how many or what type of different treatments that came before then that were tried are completely irrelevant. Because it was literally like playing Russian roulette. Or, you know, the pin the tail on the donkey, where you have to throw the darts at the donkey board. You get blindfolded first. It's exactly like that. Because these individuals were not guided properly through the procedures in regards to integrating themselves and their kids into the service system. When you don't have a guide like that, then in regards to whether this school, that school, this program, that program's going to work, you have no way of knowing. You have no way of making an educated decision in regards to what type of intervention is going to work best to address your child's very specific triggers. You're not going to get that information on your hands. And when you cannot make an educated decision because you don't have that information on hand to be able to refer to, then it is not a mystery that whatever they tried didn't work. It's like literally sailing out into the sea without a navigator. And the person at the wheel is not some captain or hell even a pirate. It is a 5-year-old on their first boat ride. You know? You don't have something to help guide you in this very important area of decision making, then it doesn't matter what interventions you've tried, because there is no way to know whether or not it would have been helpful to that child's very specific issues. That is why people like me preach on the full functioning behavioral assessment as though our lives depend upon it, because they do, actually. They do. It has a lot to do with whether a program is going to be successful and help me improve my own life and what that looks like. If you don't have the right tools, it becomes miraculous if you can, by accident, come upon the right program. And by and large, that's not what happens. What happens is these poor kids get continued to be kicked down the road like you're kicking a can down the road. From program to program to program. Because the proper tools and evaluations were never discussed with the parents to begin with. So, allow me to say it again. They never asked us about how many or what types of medical treatments their loved ones underwent unsuccessfully. Is completely irrelevant to the subject at hand. And let me also say this. Even if the JR's assessment in regards to how these other programs were unsuccessful was correct, with everything being done correctly, this argument does not prove that the GED device is safe, efficient, and overall improves quality of life, and that the changes after using this so-called therapy, the changes in behavior, remain after the person is no longer on the device. All those programs unsuccessful. Okay, but what does that have to do in regards to the dangers of your device? How does that answer the challenge that we have been able to prove that that device has caused second and third degree burns? That that device has caused someone to go into a 2-month catatonic coma. That that device has provoked PTSD in some of the survivors of that place so damn strong they don't even like going out their doors, and if they hear Velcro, yeah. Okay? That does not address the question of whether the GED device and its so-called benefits are greater than the very obvious risks that it poses. It does not answer that question. Therefore, it is completely irrelevant to the subject at hand. You are not arguing, JRC, for the legitimacy of adversive therapies. That is not what the FDA is doing here. That is not their jurisdiction. That is not what this is. It's literally specifically to do with whether the so-called benefits outweigh the risks. If labeling can fix it, which very obviously it doesn't, if there are other alternatives that are successful, there are. And if so, you get the picture. But nothing else worked. Again, there are times that regardless of all thy self-soothing and coping tools, how hard I worked out that particular day, that something just happens that is so damn squirrely that there's not a force on God's green earth that's going to prevent the meltdown that is going to happen. Is what it is. Right? The only way to really stop it, even somewhat, is a sudden shock to the system, which, by the way, is extremely dangerous. And I certainly do not want to tell anyone to do so. Because that's a temporary pause before I skull stomp you to the pavement. Okay? It's not hyperbole. I have PTSD as well as being autistic. Those two mix up together. It's not pretty. Now, because I know that this is a fact, that doesn't mean I have my brother here living rent-free, just for the very, very rare and literally years in between situations when that happens, for him to come out here and, punch me in the face when that's going on. No, but it will stop you, okay? But this is still someone punching me in the face for something that is out of my control. Okay? There's no doctor on planet Earth that is going to write a prescription that says when she starts to melt down, brother comes out and punches her in the face. But you expect us to allow that logic to be used here in this situation. It's nonsensical, right? It's just as absurd as making my brother live here rent-free to punch me in the face when that maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years or some weird apocalyptic event, I eventually lose my shit. No doctor's gonna write me the prescription for that, alright? And that's how ridiculous this all is. How disgusting, how insane, barbaric, and the way I feel like every single one of these individuals, doctors, willing to do this, you all belong in jail. Every last one of you. Every last one of you. Sorry. Not sorry. Alright, let me continue to what previous behavioral therapies their loved ones went through and the outcome of those. Again, irrelevant. Relevance, JRC. Do you know what the meaning of that word is? It means it doesn't matter what their previous treatment programs were, because those programs have nothing to do with the subject at hand, which is risk, benefit, get device. Does the benefits outweigh the absolutely horrific risks involved with using that device? Whatever behavioral therapies they went through previously is not answering the question. Again, this is not adversive therapy on trial. It is the GET device on trial. It's very specific what is to be fully determined here. You keep bringing in things because, and I know why, because of all these lawsuits that did put the overall subject of adversive therapy literally up for the world to debate. This isn't that. This is specifically about the GET device and only the GET device. Whatever happened previously before they came to the JRC, before that device was strapped to them, is irrelevant in regards to, is that device safe? Do the benefits make it worth the absolute horrific risks in regards to that device? Seriously, how are you not saying this? 3. Having resources and capacity to handle the profound disorders the families have endured. Again, irrelevant. Irrelevant, irrelevant, irrelevant. Good God. Could you all, possibly put forward a concern that is actually related to the subject at hand? I thought I had problems going into left field repeatedly. 4. How many times their loved ones were held in restraints to prevent them from severely harming themselves or others, or most importantly, irrelevant. What are you not understanding here, JRC? Irrelevant. This has nothing to do with whether or not the benefits outweigh the risks in regards to using the GET device to help people with disabilities, to treat aggressive behavior and self-injurious behavior. It doesn't matter, because we are talking about a very specific device. We are not debating adversive therapy as a larger whole. It's about one device. Can we please stick to the subject? 5. The outcome their loved ones have experienced while using the GET and what impact it will have on their care should its use be banned by the FDA. For the love of God, you people. You really don't get it, do you, JRC? You probably never will. What about the outcomes the person who is forced to wear the device has experienced? Now, the JRC is the most obnoxious and horrifying example, but this is something that is systemic throughout the entirety of the medical model. Nobody cares about our experience, what we feel about our own plans, except in certain rare occasions. It's not about the outcomes we want. It's about the outcomes our parents, our guardians, literally everybody else but us want. Food for thought, isn't it? Because I am my own human being. I have the right to my own bodily autonomy. I have the right to make decisions for myself. I have the right to think about how something I have experienced affects me, instead of having to think about how it affects everyone else. I don't exist solely for others. To act like a performing monkey, to pretend to be neurotypical enough to everybody's satisfaction. I stopped trying to fit in decades ago. God, it was liberating. Wouldn't you know it, I actually got a lot more friends once I stopped trying to be what everybody in the medical model and outside of the medical model was telling me to be. than when I don't bother with it any. Okay? But what about your mom and about what she saw and everything? Yes, it does matter. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it doesn't. She's one of the few people on planet Earth whose opinion I actually do respect. One of the main reasons is because she is impartial, even though I am her daughter. If there's something she's seeing with me that doesn't seem quite right, she's gonna call me on it. Even at me being 40 years old. Never fails. Okay? However, in regards to my own treatment programs, I'm lucky with who my mom is. But it matters with how it affects me, not everybody around me. Okay? Yeah. Also, that being said, but the parents got what they wanted. They'll tell you all about it. Isn't that all that matters? No. That, in fact, doesn't matter at all. And you know what? Yes, I'm going to say it. They're not the one on the human shock collar, Karen. Just because they're happy because some of us can play pretend for a few hours, days, even weeks sometimes, doesn't mean what they feel about things is the only thing that matters. See, this is our lives. Not our parents, not our schools, not direct staff. It's our lives. We have to live them. So what we think about our own experiences, what decisions, dreams, hopes, desires that we have should actually matter more than a lot of people actually, you get what I'm saying, right? Those things should matter more than how those sorts of things impact our parents. We're going to be with our parents till 18, and then guess what? Is their happiness with us still going to be more important than our happiness with ourselves? Is everybody else's happiness with me more important than me being happy with me? This is something that society needs to think on. That's all I'm saying. That being said, all 5 of those things are irrelevant to the topic at hand. And that, by the way, was not the way we handled things when we spoke to the FDA after the original overturn. We were very specific. Very obviously, we know this device is dangerous. We read the court decision. This is the technicality that they said overturned it. What can we do from here? Very different. And to the point, very specific to the regards of the GED device itself. Which again makes me wonder, why are we wasting time on these types of stories when those stories were already clearly told to the panel's face throughout those hearings between 2014 and 2016 over a 2-year period? If there is no new information to bring to the table, why are we torturing these poor, same FDA panel folks participating in this by forcing them to regurgitate the exact same information again and again and again? We're going to go ahead and close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.